just getting a PowerPoint or something you're looking for? I just want to see how far we can go. Oh, you know what? He did this presentation on our board meeting. Yeah. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing for distance only 3 presentations, walking around the boardroom. Test audio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2. Loud mic 1, 2. Testing, testing, testing. On mic. Make sure all the mics are on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing mic distance 73. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test, test, test. Yeah, I can tell you the big difference in the room is when I'm off to the left side of I guess it's actually more than this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test, test, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Loud mic distance 73. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Here's one. It's weird. I can tell a big difference though from where I'm heading. So. But I think you guys talked kind of loud, I think. So. It's a weird picture. So it turns off a little, or they still checking. So not Check 1, 2, 3, 4, testing audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Checking mic district 73. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Checking audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test 1, 2, 3. I'll take that. I'll move that for you guys. But, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Checking mic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test 1. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've always used the first two quick time back. I could try with the mic if you want. So for the microphone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1,
That would work better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2. Testing live mic. Or we can even move one of these mics. We can try one of these. Oh, there we go. I can hear myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No static from what I can hear. 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check. Test 1, 2. Keep going. Stop. Let it go. Keep listening.
All right, well, welcome to the third Superintendent's Coffee chat on our proposed facility master plan. I'll go through a little PowerPoint presentation here and give you some highlights of information. There are some handouts in the back as well as coffee. Actually, we really do have coffee at these. And hopefully this will help folks that are looking for information on what an educational facilities master plan is and how that impacts the question on the April 4th ballot. So let me start with educational facilities master plan is a 10-year plan. It is aligned to our strategic plan. It is aligned to our demographic studies, what our potential growth needs would be. It also incorporates our vision and also allows us to look at our current buildings, what needs to be repaired or replaced. And in many cases, just like in home, you might have a heating or air conditioning unit that needs to be replaced or a roof. We did an evaluation of the entire district, all the buildings, to include those through this process. The expected growth for Hawthorn District 73 over the next 10 years is 700 students. And that comes from Casarda. He's a gentleman out of North Carolina, does our demographic studies, does many of those for districts around us. Many people refer to him as the gold standard. He does a very good job with that and is pretty close to recommendations on what to expect. And that report is on our webpage for folks to go and see. We are using what is called Series C projections. Series C projections indicates the highest potential growth. And I will explain why in just a moment. If you see up on the slides, you can see the growth over the last 10 or 11 years. 2008, 2009, we were at 3,825. And 2016, 2017, as of December, we were at 4,364. And then when we came back from holiday break, we took another count in February and we gained 24 more students. Now this is not just new students, this is 24 more students that if somebody had moved out and somebody moved in, this would incorporate that in there. So we are growing, we have been continuing to grow, and you can see in 2012, 2013 we were under 4,000 and now we're just about at 4,400. Excuse me. The projected growth off of our Casarda report shows that in 2025 we'll be over 5,000 students. A report that was done back in 2013 showed that by 2023 we would be at 4,411. We're at almost 4,400 now, and that is why we're using the Series C projections, which are the high enrollment projections. Casarda takes into account birth rates, your natural turnover within your housing, and then other new housing developments as well. And so we've seen an acceleration in our growth, and we're already close to where we're supposed to be in 2023. We currently have constraints within our buildings. We have many programs that are being outplaced to make room for general ed classrooms. We have art being taught in the back of in a fitness room in the Town Line building, in the gyms. We have enrichment on the stage. We have health on a cart. We just are displacing students to make room for regular classrooms because we have so many students. Many of you know at Elementary South we had to add 2 portables where we have 2 art classrooms to make room for 2 general ed classrooms. But we also have our bilingual programming and our special ed programming sharing classrooms. I believe we have 4 bilingual teachers in 1 classroom trying to service students. So we also have what used to be a cafeteria cooking station, got renovated a few years back, and that is used for music classes right now. And the stage is used for music classes at Elementary South. That's great, except when you have PE classes going on in the gym right next door. Another example would be over at Middle School North. We actually conduct PE classes in the cafeteria during lunchtime. We put up little partition walls to make space. So we are full in all our buildings and growing, continuing to grow, so we know we have space needs and we don't want to keep displacing those programs. They do impact the quality of those programs over a long period of time. Our projected growth, we use Series C. It's the high growth pattern. One of the reasons we did that is we've been hitting Series B consistently for about 10 years. We've accelerated over the last few years, and if you were to plan for a Series C, a B projection, and you were to get between B and C or hit your C's, you would already have too few amounts of space added on to the buildings because you projected low. So we projected on the Series C, and the reason we've done that is we've hit those Series C projections for the last 3 years. You can see their enrollment trends average over 50 new students for 10 years. We've averaged 82 students for the past 5, averaging 90 in the past 4, and then in the last 3 years we've averaged over 100. We're around about 119. Now those are averages, you add them, put them together, but you can see there's an acceleration of growth in our community. Our community is a very attractive place to be. We have a lot of homes that are turning over. These numbers do not include any projected new housing developments. This is just off of current enrollment, current homes that we have. And that is why we have been using the Series C to make our plans. These are the Series C numbers. For 2017-18 would be 4,500. For 2018-19, 4,600. And then 2019-2020, 4,700. That would be an increase of 304 students over that period of time. We do believe that we're going to be hitting those numbers because we've been seeing similar numbers the past 3 or 4 years. Educational facility plan as a 10-year plan. It was put together with a committee with some community members, staff members, teachers, administration, and parents. And we sat down and looked at what are our needs. We have some needs for repair and replace. We have a concern that we're full and we're going to gain more students, so we need to figure out where we're going to get that space and how would best do that. The facilities master plan, like we said, is 10-year plan. We're looking at creating a kindergarten center attached to the Park District Sullivan Center and sharing resources and space. That would relocate 15 kindergarten classrooms out of the buildings into that building. That is not a long-term solution. Many folks have asked me that. Will that solve our problem, give us these classrooms back? When those classrooms are pulled out into kindergarten, they get backfilled by those displaced programs within the buildings. So at Elementary South, the minute you pull out those kindergarten classrooms, you're able to put art, special ed, and bilingual programming back into those classrooms. And in essence, the building turns right around and this becomes full again, not able to accommodate the growth. And we would see that in most of our buildings, if not all of them. Relocate EC Pre-K, which is right now we have a great partnership with Mundelein and Fremont, renting space at the Lincoln Building in Mundelein. We'd like to bring those students back on campus and have them there, so we'd really relocate them back. Add STEM centers to all the elementary buildings. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math instruction all combined into a sort of a project base. We need the quality space to allow those types of instructional activities to occur. It's hard to have those occur within a classroom and keep the activities up long term. Somebody asked me, is it necessary? Consider you need a gym for PE space, you need libraries for media, you need to have your music and band and orchestra rooms. They're specifically designed for specific instructional needs. This space is designed that way. STEM renovations at the middle schools. We would be renovating space and adding in STEM there. Purchase 11.8 acres right now that the Park District owns. It is across from Elementary South, and the thought is that we would use that as outdoor space. We have very limited outdoor space for our campuses, but in the future, if we were to continue to grow and you needed to do something for space, that gives you a safety net that down the road 15, 20 years potentially, or if you had really accelerated growth, but there's some land there for you to use. We currently as a district don't have any land, and so we've looked at lots of solutions, and having some land available would be good for the future. All other additions and renovations are needed, so within there we renovate some space, we create additions onto the buildings to accommodate for growth, and we also then renovate like our media centers. If you consider the libraries, when they were built, there was not so much technology. Media centers really have changed into a dynamic learning space. This is a map of the Educational Facilities Master Plan. Again, if you recall, it is a 10-year plan, and what you see in blue are the suggested square footage needed for the additions, and I'm sure on TV right now it's hard to see, but the 10-year Facilities Master Plan includes the kindergarten center and then all additions and renovations to the other buildings that are included on here. I always caution folks, where you see the blue, that's just conceptual thought. That doesn't necessarily mean that's how the kindergarten building would be designed or look. It doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly where the addition would be, but we do know for Elementary North, that's where we would add the EC Pre-K and do a STEM center. At Middle North, we need to add gym space and some music space, as well as about 6 classrooms. Excuse me. Town Line would have an addition of some classrooms and some STEM center space. Middle South needs, actually right now, its cafeteria is too small. We'd add some space onto the cafeteria, some classroom space and renovations. Aspen gets the least amount. It gets a STEM center space added onto it and some internal renovations. And then at Elementary South, we'd have to add in new gym space and several classrooms and some learning spaces there. There's also a small courtyard at Elementary South. We would capture that and turn it into internal space and use it for storage. You can never have as much storage, just like at home. If any of you have children, you know there's never enough storage. So we would be doing that. But that gives you a general idea of what would occur over a 10-year, for the 10-year master plan, and the idea that that would be phased in over a period of time, probably be done sometime by the fall of 2020. The next slide shows you the Educational Facilities Master Plan referencing just the question that's on the ballot for April 4th. You'll see that the kindergarten center is dark. That is being funded through cash reserves. The board has committed those dollars to build that kindergarten center to avoid that increase on the tax base. The remaining are the same diagrams that we showed previously, and that comes out to roughly about $42 million worth of work. That $42 million are additions or renovations to all of the buildings in some format. Yet to be finalized. Again, this is conceptual, so it shows you where we think the spaces would go. But let's say for Elementary North, just as an example, we show you where we think that the pre-K EC would be added, but in the actual design phase, maybe there's a better location, and then it would be decided at that time. But it does give you an idea of representation of how many square feet or how many classrooms are needed. This is available online at the school webpage, and you can go on and click down on that. Also, if you have any of the handouts, there's a QR code that can take you to there, and we have these available in many locations. People can come get them at. The referendum question is for April 4th, and it outlines all of the activities that would occur from the 10-year Educational Facilities Master Plan. It includes everything except for the kindergarten center addition at Sullivan Building. That building is being funded separately out of cash reserves again. So the question is asking for $42 million, or up to $42 million, to do renovations, additions, acquire the land across from Elementary South, and then also upgrade the buildings. Whenever you come in and you add on a building, you got to redo the parking lots and some of those types of things. But that covers those questions. And I say up to $42 million because all it is, it gives the board permission to bond that amount. It doesn't necessarily mean they would spend it all if something were to change in the time frame that you start building, if there's some change or some need. But you'll notice it gives them up to that amount. They can't spend more than that, but they could spend less. That also then would have implications on the tax impact. And so let me just do a brief conversation about the tax impact, and then I'll invite Elizabeth to come up, who helps us with our bond counsel to help us determine the costs. The chart that you see is for a $350,000 home, and as if we went out and bonded all $42 million at one time, which does not occur. Usually it happens over a period of time. The blue, the dark blue, is the current debt that's being paid by that homeowner for a $350,000 home. The green, in the first 7 years, is interest payment only on the new bonds, the $42 million. That green is roughly about $180. So this person would have an addition of about $180 a year for the next 7 years. Then you'll notice in 2025, there's no more blue bars because the current debt gets paid off. So that person's rate for the bonds is $403. Currently in 2017, they're paying $657. So there's a slight increase over 7 years of roughly about $180. But then by the time the current bonds are paid off, in 2025, they're paying less than they're currently paying with the current debt for all the projects that are being proposed in the referendum question. I'll ask Elizabeth to come up and just highlight a few things.
Thanks.
Hopefully got it.
I'm Elizabeth Kenneth William Blair, and Nick did a really great job explaining this debt structure to you. But just to review, those dark blue bonds are the outstanding bonds that the community is paying on now. So because this new issue is coming on in 2018, we're paying only interest over the first 10 years and paying the principal over the last 10 years in order to make it easier on the taxpayer now. And one might ask, well, that's putting the bonds a little bit long, but these buildings are going to last for probably,
I think we've,
these buildings and additions, because they're capital in nature and infrastructure, will last the district well over 30 years. So, you know, we don't feel any problem in amortizing the bonds over 20 years, putting the principal out after the existing bonds are repaid. So this is the impact for a $350,000 home, which is a little higher than the average sale value in Vernon Hills. But we talk about the average impact of all these payments being about $309. So if you want to go to the next slide. For the $350,000 home, the average of all those payments, again, starting at $179, going to $403 over that 20-year period, is $309.72, or $25.81 a month. So you can see the impact for the $500,000 home value and the $750,000 home value, and these are market home values. We also did it as a percentage of property taxes paid, because market value, what you can sell your house for, what you feel you can sell your house for, may not be what the county assessor says the value of your home is. So we also break it down per 1,000 of taxes paid and per 10,000 of taxes paid. So a little bit different way of looking at it, but on average, per 1,000, $29.52. So I think that's an easy way for people to do the math, because everybody kind of knows how much property taxes you paid last year. The referendum question is per legal counsel. People ask sometimes, why can't we put how much it's going to cost on the ballot question, or why can't we put other information? We are really constrained by the Illinois statute on what the referendum question will be. So it is, shall the Board of Education of Hawthorn Community Consolidated School District number 73, Lake County, Illinois, build and equip additions to, improve the sites of, and alter, repair, and equip school buildings, including to provide STEM facilities, acquire and improve the site, and issue bonds not to exceed $42 million. So we have estimated this $42 million, the impact on the taxes, with no new property growth, no additional EAV, just based on what the tax base is now. So we feel this estimation of the $309 for the $350,000 home is probably a conservative number, and we're hoping it's going to be less.
okay, thank you. Again, so one of the common questions that is asked is, for folks, how can I figure out what this will impact me personally? The $29.52 per 1,000. So if you spend $10,000 or $11,000, you can just multiply that out and find out what that would be. Also, if you notice, it does not say anything about purchasing or building a new building. These are additions and renovations. It is purchasing land that we could utilize, but it's written specifically. It does restrict the board and the school district to spend it only in this way. We are anticipating that we will continue to grow at the Series C. There's nothing yet to indicate that we won't. We have, for the last 3 years, hit those very high numbers, and we've averaged over 50 for the last 10. And so knowing that we're currently full and knowing that our growth rate is there, one of the things also that I've shared with folks is we've incurred over 50 students a year for the last 10 years, and that's during an economic crisis that hit the real estate market. So we anticipate being such a value-added community that that number of 50 is a minimum for the next 10 years as well. If you think of the number of homes you have as an inventory, that inventory generates roughly 50 students or more for the last 10 years in a bad economic crisis or bad economic climate, in a good climate, it's going to increase, and we've started to see that over the last 3 years. We hope that this helps inform folks so they can make a quality decision on April 4th. We've tried to provide as much factual information in this presentation and on our webpage and in our flyers that have been mailed out or been handed out around the community, so you can see what the needs are and what the potential impact to tax dollars will be, and that in 7 years current debt is paid off, and then so if this bond were to pass, if this referendum question were to pass, in 7 years people will be paying less than they currently are and have these additional spaces needed for our students. One of the common questions is, Nick, what happens if you don't get the referendum passed? What will the district do? Well, we have plans B, C, D, E, and F because there are so many scenarios that come about. But realistically, we'll probably still have displaced programs and could potentially increase the number of programs that might be displaced into spaces that really aren't designed for that use. Would increase share facilities. If you consider the cafeteria at Middle School North as a shared facility during lunch and gym, we'd continue that. We'd try to find some other solution. We would continue to build the kindergarten center as it's funded outside of this, but that would not be a long-term solution, and it only provides us a minimum relief for maybe a year or two because those classrooms that are opened are immediately backfilled with our current displaced. Anticipate class sizes could increase, which we would hope to avoid, and potential impacts on our schedules. So there's only so much time in the day, so we may have to shorten some of our schedules to try to get students into PE or into art, those types of things. So we do anticipate with the growth, without additional space, we'll have to find that. We may have to look for additional portables as well, and we have limited space on campus for those, so we would be creative and see what we can do. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Well, I do appreciate folks that are coming out to learn about this. This is the third superintendent's coffee. Nice turnout, and so I think rough estimate is about 50 folks over those period of time. We did do several community forums through the planning process. Just so you know, the core team met for over 2,500 hours, and we had 3 presentations and information. We had well over 200 folks at most of those, and so hopefully that has helped people also gain some insight into our need and our potential solution. And we just ask that if you have any questions, feel free to email or come by the office and pick up this information. All of it is available for us on our webpage. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.